Um, so, oh, did you just start recording?
Yeah, it paused. It paused and then it started again. Go ahead,
Oh,
Jeremy.
no.
Repeat that one more time.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Your benefits are determined in accordance with Indiana state law. This Indiana public retirement system presentation explains the benefit provisions applicable to your plan as of today, November 16th, 2021. If laws should change in the future, your benefits will be determined based on the current statutes at that time. All right. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for taking the time this afternoon to learn a little bit more about your retirement benefits. So we have a chat function. That's probably a great place for questions. I find a lot of times I'm about to cover a slide that you have a question about. So you may want to jot your questions down and then we can ask them at the end. That tends to work fairly well to keep the presentation going. If you think it's pertinent to that moment, by all means, send a chat and we'll figure it out. Okay. So this presentation is going to cover the Teachers Retirement Fund and the Public Employee Retirement Fund. So this is kind of our history. I call it the brag page because we talk about the nearly $37 billion in assets that we have. So why that's good and important is that's what your pension is going to be paid out of. So it's that balance is good. It is, we are very well funded. We have very high ratings for how we are funded, how much we are funded. We're one of the largest 100 pension funds in the United States. We issue approximately 160,000 individual payments each month. And TRF was founded in 1921 and PERF was founded in 1945. So a lot of folks know us for our PERF and TRF funds because they're our largest and cover the most people. But we also have 5 different other funds that we oversee. So police and firefighters, judges, state excise police, gaming, prosecuting attorneys, and legislators.
This is Cookie. May I help you?
We have over 1,200 public employers and total memberships about 467,000.
Okay, she'll be right out.
So what plan are you in? My understanding with your organization, the teachers and classified employees have the option for the My Choice Retirement Savings Plan. That is a fixed contributions, defined contribution account. And that the fixed contributions in that account are always 100% vested. There's also a variable rate contribution to that account that is on a 5-year vesting schedule. This plan began in 2013 for PERF and 2019 for TRF. The hybrid plan is the traditional, you might say, the one that probably most folks are in just because it's been around longer. This is a 2-part plan. It has a defined benefit, which you vest in after 10 full years of service. That defined benefit's your pension. And then there's the defined contribution part of that benefit. So your defined contribution account, and you're always 100% invested in that or vested in that. Okay. So the My Choice plan, again, the fixed contributions that go into that plan, that's the mandatory 3%. This money always belongs to you. It's not on a vesting schedule. There are no loan or hardship withdrawals available for that. The variable rate contributions are funded by the employer, and upon separation, that is on a 5-year vesting schedule. So you get 20% for each year that you complete. So each year participation in that. And after 5.
Hey, Jeremy, we have questions that are coming through about how do they know what plan they're in. I
Yeah.
can say that if you're a classified staff member, you are on the hybrid plan. If you are a certified teacher or admin, you are also probably on the hybrid plan unless you're new within like the last 3 years and you elected the My Choice.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. That's what that the variable rate contribution portion of that My Choice retirement savings plan. This is the vesting schedule and what that looks like. So after 1 year, like I said, 20%. After 2 years, you're at 40%. And after 5 years of participation, you're at 100%. We do have in-service withdrawals available now for folks who are in My Choice. If you're 62 and you have 5 or more years in the My Choice retirement savings plan, you can take an in-service distribution from your defined contribution account. We always tell people that account obviously was meant for your retirement. So consider how taking money out of that account would impact your retirement and any tax implications. That is something new, by the way. Senate Enrolled Act 10 is something new that was effective January 1st of this year. So what you can do with that defined contribution account, if you're in the My Choice retirement savings plan at the time of retirement, you have these 6 different options. You can defer. So when you separate employment and start your retirement, you can just leave the money in that account. It stays invested. You can manage the account in retirement just as you can when you're employed. And then in retirement, you have any of these other options at any point in time. Okay. You can annuitize that money with or without a cash refund. So annuitizing is purchasing an annuity. So you give the money from that account to MetLife. They're the ones who provide our annuities currently. In turn, they provide you a monthly benefit for the rest of your life. And they have a with and without cash refund option now. So with cash refund means that you get to preserve the amount of money you paid for that annuity, meaning month after month, if when you pass away, you haven't received payments totaling that initial purchase amount, the difference would go to a beneficiary. Without a cash refund, if you choose that option, you're going to get a monthly amount and it's going to be higher. You're going to get more because they're willing to pay you more, because upon your passing, nobody gets anything if you pick that option. If you pick that option, someone's asking for it's Sarah. If you scroll up, I put the link, the presentation PDF is in the chat. If you scroll up,
I'll also share the recording in the presentation probably tomorrow as well.
am I sharing my screen? Did that go away?
Yes.
No, you are. You're good.
Okay, great. Okay. And then the third option you have with that money is you can just take it as cash. You can take a lump sum distribution. If you do that, 20% is going to be withheld of any untaxed part of that account. That's an automatic, that's an IRS requirement. That'll be a credit at tax time. And then state and local tax is roughly 5%. Okay. Systematic withdrawal. If you want to do that option, that's where you take the money in that account and you tell us how many years you want it to be distributed and what frequency. So you can do monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual withdrawal. Can I ask everybody to mute their microphones? We have some feedback coming through that's kind of hard to hear over. Thanks. Systematic withdrawal. So that's a way to get the money systematically. Again, you can get it monthly or quarterly. The money that remains in the account that's not yet been distributed to you remains invested. So that's kind of the upside of that. Any interest earned on that money would be yours. but it's not guaranteed for life like the annuity. So obviously, if you set it up for 20 years and you live 30 years into retirement, you're going to be about 10 years without that distribution. But that's our newest option. The fifth option, you can do a rollover. So rolling your money over is just moving it out of this account with us into another qualified retirement account. So some people set up a traditional IRA at their bank, or some folks might be working with like an Edward Jones, or you may have a deferred compensation account you can move it into. So that's an option. And then you can also split that money up and do different things with it. So you can choose any of these options. The only two that don't work together are to defer and set up a systematic withdrawal. Those wouldn't work together, but everything else you can. Okay, let's talk about the PERF and TRF hybrid plans. So they have a defined benefit and a defined contribution part. It's a two-part plan. The defined benefit, that pension, that is a lifetime benefit when you meet eligibility rules. That part of your retirement benefit is completely funded by your employer. You cannot contribute, you cannot make contributions to your pension. There's a formula in state law that we use to calculate your pension. I'm going to go through that in detail. And your final benefit, what you get per month, is going to be determined by your age, salary, service, and which retirement option you choose. Okay. And again, vesting in the pension happens after you reach 10 years of service. There's a couple of benefits that you may not know about. Hopefully you never have to use, but they are available. So there's a disability retirement benefit. This is available to members who have 5 or more years of PERF or TRF service, who have been deemed disabled by the Social Security Administration while on payroll in that PERF or TRF covered position. Survivor benefits before retirement. So this is available to folks with 10 or more years of service. If they were to pass away in service or pass away while eligible for a retirement benefit, they just hadn't started it, there would be a survivor benefit for a spouse of 2 or more years or dependent children. Okay. So when are you eligible to start a pension? So a normal unreduced retirement and pension, you can start when you meet one of the 3 eligibility rules. If you're age 65 and you have 10 or more years of service, when you separate employment, you can start your benefit. If you're age 60 with 15 or more years of creditable service and separate service, you can start your benefit. Or if you meet the rule of 85. So if you're at least 55, and when you add your age and service up, if it equals 85 or more, you're eligible for a full unreduced pension benefit. If you want to retire early, there are some options for that as well. So if you have 15 or more years of service and you're between the age of 50 and 59, you can retire with a reduced pension. So if you're age 50, you would get 44% of your pension. That percentage goes up 5% each year up to the age of 59, where it would be at 89%. It's really important to note, if you do an early retirement, your pension is going to be reduced for your lifetime. It's never going to go up and to 100% of your pension benefit. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the formula that determines what your pension is. The formula is your final average salary multiplied by your years of creditable service multiplied by 1.1%. So what that final average salary is, if you're in TRF, that is the 5 highest contract years averaged out. If you're in PERF, it is the average of your 20 highest quarters in groups of 4 consecutive quarters. Both of those are 5 years. So we dubbed the final average salary as the high 5. It's an average of the high 5 years. Whenever that happens in your career. So if you do phase into retirement by going to a lower paying position, it does not impact what your final average salary is going to be that's used in the calculation of your pension. Looks like someone asked, yeah, so someone brought up, I should have pointed this out. So thank you, Connie. Probably the least commonly known rule of eligibility is number 2 right there, 60 with 15 or more years of service. And that one's tricky because what ends up happening sometimes is people get us confused with, like I've dealt with someone who confused us with like Medicare eligibility. So they thought they were eligible at 65. To go around. But they had 15 or more years of service, and they had left. Starting to get harder and more challenging. Even when I've gone. Hey, can I ask everybody to mute their microphones? We're getting some feedback. Thanks. So anyway, we sometimes folks confuse eligibility for their PERF or TRF benefit with other things, Social Security or Medicare. So I had a lady sign up. She's about to turn 65. She had 15 or more years of service, which she got years ago. She had already left that position and was doing something in the private sector. Let's say she had like 17 years of service. So she gave up 5 years of benefits because she didn't, she didn't confirm when she was eligible for a benefit. So one other important point I'm going to say about that is we send out information to you. We send annual statements. We send quarterly statements, unless you've signed up not to receive anything by mail. So one thing your employer doesn't do if you change you move, change your house, is update your address with us. So it's important to keep your address updated with us. Okay. If you don't, then it may be why you're not getting information from us if you're not. Okay. So here's what the final average salary calculate or the pension calculation looks like. Some examples for folks. So with a $50,000 final average salary over 20 years, multiplied by the 1.1% or 0.011 divided by 12, that gives you a $915 per month pension benefit before taxes. Okay. And then you can see what 5 more years or an additional 10,000 final average salary, what that looks like. Okay. You can run estimates of what your pension is going to be. This formula is great just to do a real quick calculation, but there are different pension option types, and to get like really narrowed down and more specific numbers for yourself, you would log into your account at myinprsretirement.org, and then under the application and calculators link, you will see that you can, there's a calculator there, and you can change your years of service and tell us when you plan to leave, and it'll show you what your pension benefit would be at a given point in time. It does not project your service. So you got to make sure that if you're looking at 10 years down the road, you got to add 10 years of service to your service credit manually if you intend to still work. It's not going to automatically do that, but it'll also let you look at survivor options. So it'll let you put in a date of birth of a survivor, and it'll tell you what their options are and what those numbers look like as well. It's pretty handy.
Hey, Jeremy, question was, is the salary based on your gross or your net?
Gross.
Thank you.
Yep. So services earned. So TRF services earned from July 1st to June 30th. Sorry. So in TRF, your employer reports to us every pay period how many days you worked in that pay period. So biweekly, typically it's 10 days. So once we have 60 days reported, you get a half year credit. And then once your 120th day is reported in a school year, that's when the final half of the year gets reported. So it gives you the full year for that school year. PERF service, services earned month to month. So you work December, you get credit for December. And technically, if you work one day in the month, you get credit for the month. Okay. We talk about vesting on several slides. Hopefully this is clear to everybody now that you vest when you have 10 years of service. Okay. Sorry, there we go. What else counts as service? What are all the things? So regular Indiana teaching service and PERF service work together. So let's say that you started in a position that was PERF. Let's say you were an admin and you were in a PERF covered position and you got 5 years there, and then you became a teacher and got 15 years there. That's 20 years of service. So it would add together. Some substitute teaching positions count as service. Leaves of absences that are approved that service can be counted. The point I want to make about that, if you get we send you information about what your service is in our system. So on the annual statements, you'll see what we have for your service. If it doesn't look right, you might want to get a hold of us and say, hey, this doesn't seem right to me. I started in, this year. And, let us know if you had any leaves of absences that were approved, different things like that, so that we can research that and make sure that your service is right.
Jeremy, we have a couple questions.
Oh, how many hours do you need to work in a day for it to be considered a work day with the state? We don't get involved in that. We don't know. So that's a good question for your HR, probably. Like your employer reports days worked to us. They don't report hours worked to us. Maternity leave, is that considered a leave of absence? It probably depends on if you signed up for FMLA and if that was approved and all that, but typically, yeah.
Oh, I can tell you for the work day that question,
Yeah.
hours worked. Yeah, we go by, I know we have some part-time teachers, so some work every day a half day. If they work every day a half day, that's considered a work day. If you're only working 2 days a week all day, then you only get credit for 2 days a week. So we report days worked, whether they're half day or full day.
Sure. Thanks. How do you buy out-of-state service? There's a form that if you're interested in that, you can go to our website. There's a form for the purchase of service. It's under when you go to my plan under TRF. I can show you this at the end as well, where that is. You'll send in to get a quote for that service. It's got to be certified. So we have, you have to get the state where you receive the service. You have to get them to certify it and then get that form to us. And then we'll give you a quote on what it would cost. You can run a quick estimate in your account as well under the application and calculators. PERF and TRF is automatically combined, Chris. So like I was saying, if you got 5 years in PERF and you had 15 years in TRF, you have a total of 20 years of service. It's going to be used 20 years towards your pension. Okay. Private school service in Indiana, you can purchase that. Out of state, you can purchase that sometimes. What that sometimes means is if you had out of state service prior to like 1989 and you were in TRF in 1989, some of that is just granted to you. So if that's a situation for you, you might want to get a hold of and call the 844 number and ask for a retirement benefit specialist, and they can walk you through what that looks like. And then additional years purchase. So you can purchase just what we call airtime. If you just want to get additional 2 years of service, you can buy it and not work it. But it can get costly, number one. Number two, it is more expensive the longer you wait. So you're first eligible for that when you get 10 years of service. And you can purchase 1 year for every 5 that you work. So at 10 years, you can purchase 2 at that point. Okay. And it's cheapest right then. Over time, number one, most people make a higher salary, so that drives up the cost. Most people really look into purchasing service when they're ready to retire, but they meet what I call the rule of 83. So they need 2 years to get to the rule of 85. And they're like, man, I just want to buy it. I want out. So they, go and look at the calculation and they see that it's, $40,000 or whatever. And just keep that in mind. But again, you can get an estimate on purchasing service on your by logging into your account and going under calculators. Can private school or charter school service be purchased after leaving the school? Well, it can only be purchased after leaving the school, but all purchases need to happen while you're actually employed in a TRF covered position. So you would want to handle that before you separate employment. Okay. I covered the pension component of your retirement benefit. Let's talk about the defined contribution part now. So this is the second part. So on the retirement application, you're going to make a decision. What pension option do you want? And then the next page, it's going to say, hey, what do you want to do with your defined contribution balance? Again, there's a mandatory 3% that goes into this account. This money always belongs to you. You're always fully vested in it. There are no loan or hardship withdrawals available from it. You can, if your employer allows, make post-tax voluntary contributions up to 10% of your of gross wages if your employer allows it. That to do that, you would check with your HR. They could, it's a payroll deduction. So oftentimes that paperwork's turned into your payroll department.
Right. We don't allow contributions into our PERF accounts. Instead, we offer the AXA equitable accounts for 403Bs or Roths.
Gotcha. There's the answer from Bridget. Okay. There are also in-service withdrawals available from this account. So at age 59 and a half, if you're currently eligible for a regular retirement benefit, you could take money out of this account. And all the same things apply that I said earlier, which is consider how it impacts your retirement and consider the tax implications. The options you have with that account are the same that the My Choice folks have. So I already kind of went through those. You can defer leaving the money in. You can purchase an annuity, which would provide you an additional monthly benefit. This would be separate from your pension. It would come from MetLife. You could take a lump sum distribution of that money, just get the money paid out to you, set up a systematic withdrawal over time to have money just paid out of that account, leaving the remainder in to be invested. You can roll it over. That's tax-free if you move this money to a qualified retirement account, and then you can split that money up and do different things with it. The pension at the time of retirement, we didn't cover that. The options you have, you can, first of all, remember, it's a lifetime monthly benefit for our members. So this is something I want to clear up. The the statements you get, the annual statements, they're now showing like, hey, we want you to understand the value of your pension. The value of your pension is $300,000. So I've had people ask me, well, Jeremy, can I just get that money and run? And the answer is no. Your pension is going to be a monthly benefit to you. All that number means is we want you to understand the value of what that pension, that monthly pension can mean. Now, obviously, the value of your pension depends a lot on not only how much you work, how long you work, and how much, what your final average salary is, but it also depends on how long you live into retirement. So that number is just kind of a guide to help people understand, hey, you would need to save up $300,000 of yourself on your own to replace this monthly pension. So I want to clarify that. And then the types of pension options you have, we have the 5-year certain in life, which potentially provides for a beneficiary. If you don't live to receive the first 60 payments or 5 years, the remainder of those would be paid out to a beneficiary if you choose that option. There's a straight life option. That one pays the most. And the straight life option pays the most because we don't pay anything to anybody when you pass away. Okay. And then there are survivor options. So if you want to provide a guaranteed monthly benefit to someone upon your passing, there are survivorship options for that. It will impact how much you get per month. But if that's something you want or need to do, you can provide a survivorship. The best way to see what those numbers look like are to log into your account and run estimates based on, your survivor's date of birth. And it will tell you what those numbers are. If you love to work and you want to continue working and start getting your pension, you can do that in two situations. The first one is you can sign up for a Millie Morgan retirement. For that, you have to be at least 70 with 20 or more years of creditable service while working in a PERF or TRF covered position. So, you could sign up for I signed someone up today for it actually. And a note on that, I've never really seen it not benefit someone to start their Millie Morgan retirement kind of as soon as they're eligible. So if you're out there and you wonder if it's right for you, it might be worth setting up an appointment and talking that through with someone, and the sooner the better. So it can only start the month after, the first of the month after you sign up for it. So even if you're eligible 6 months back. So keep that in mind. And then elected officials also have an option if they're at least 55 with 20 or more years of service, and they're in an elected official position, they can start a benefit. Someone asked, when does survivorship have to be determined? So when you sign up for your retirement benefits, if you want to sign up for a survivorship at that point, you will, need to provide the information and, select that pension option. Again, you'll probably get less, or you will get less to provide that survivorship, but that's because your survivor is going to get a benefit when they pass away, or when you pass away. They're going to get a monthly benefit for the rest of their life. You can change your pension option in retirement. Most often we see this when a survivor actually passes away before the member. Most members move to the straight life option because it's going to pay the most. You cannot move into the 5-year certain in life because it kind of has a timer that starts on it. Or you can actually get a recalculation for a new survivor if you wanted. So you can change pension options in retirement. Working after retirement. So we do know PERF and TRF no longer offer second retirements. But if you did want to reemploy with a PERF or TRF covered employer after you start your pension, you can do that. You just have to have a 30-day separation of employment from your retirement date. You would not be re-enrolled in PERF or TRF, the hybrid plans, if your employer offered the My Choice retirement savings plan and they offer it to folks already receiving a benefit. You could be enrolled in that plan, but those two conditions have to be met. You cannot have a prior agreement to reemploy in a PERF or TRF covered position. So you can't tell your boss, hey, hold my job. I'll be back in 30 days. That's a violation of a state law. Private sector employment, we are not concerned with, there's no guidelines on you being able to go and work in the private sector or as a contract employee, or not a contract employee, as a contractor. Yeah, there are no stipulations on that. There are also, the closer you get to retirement, you're going to start hearing a lot about rules and guidelines and regulations regarding benefits. One of them is Social Security does have some earnings limitations depending on when you take that benefit. We don't. First of all, I don't know how we would ever know how much you make anywhere else. So we could not keep track. That would be really hard for us to keep track of. But we like to let people know there are no earnings limitations. In fact, a lot of folks, especially rule of 85 folks who, meet the rule of 85 at like 55 or pretty, soon thereafter, a lot of them go on to have some of the highest earning years of their life because they, move on and start their pension and go do something else. So, but we don't, no earnings limitations. This is what our website looks like. This is where you would go if you're getting close and you want to talk to a counselor. That's what I do. When I'm not doing these presentations, I meet with people one-on-one. Right now, most of those appointments are by phone, but we are doing like one day in person. And there's one of me around, there's about 8 or 9 of us that do this job around the state. So, but for most of you, it's going to be me. I'm here in the central. So you would go to our website and get signed up for an appointment. So the money this is really important to understand that the money that's in that defined contribution, Tuesday, I'll when I get done with getting through the slides, I'll go to the website and show you. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. The money in your defined contribution account, you can invest that money. We have 8 different ways you can, different funds you can put that money in. You can either pick a target date fund, which if you've hired, fairly recently, you're automatically put into that now. If you were hired a long time ago, and you never did anything with this money, it's in the stable value fund, which is okay. But it's really only to keep the money that you put in there. It's not even really intended to keep up with inflation. So if that's something that, would concern you, you might want to go and evaluate that and see if moving it somewhere else would be a good option for you. So, again, the target date is the default now, or you can select one of the target retirement dates as your option. What those do is the further away you are from retirement, they have that money more aggressively invested in like stocks. But they also have some of it invested in more conservative investments. Then as time moves on, the mix changes and your money will slowly be, more of it will be invested in the conservative funds than the growth funds, okay, stocks. So, or you can select any of the different funds to invest in yourself. So the money market, stable value, fixed income, and then the inflation link fixed income. Those are all considered fairly risk averse. So they're not, they're not super risky to put your money in. They don't have, over 10 years, the history on those. They're not huge return on investment, but they also don't fluctuate a lot. The large cap equity, small mid cap equity, and the international equity, those are heavily, those are stock investment funds, and they do, present a level of risk because obviously there are times when the stock market goes down, but they can also over time return quite a bit of gain. So depends on the level of risk you're willing to take, but those are the kind of the mix of options we have. Okay. You can change how your money's invested based in 1% increments in your account. Whatever you select to change, if you do it by 4 p.m. Eastern time, it will reflect on that business day. If you do it after 4 p.m., it will reflect on the next business day. When you log into your account, this is one of the first things you're going to see. This is a tool that Voya, who is the organization that we've partnered with that manages our defined contribution accounts. This is their tool. This allows you to establish an estimated monthly goal for retirement. And then you can put in information. This is meant to be interactive. So you put in information and it will show you how close you are to your monthly goal. You can put in like Social Security income, what you expect that to be. I think there's a place for you to put in what your healthcare expenses might be, or you think they're going to be. So that would be part of your goal. And then if you have accounts out there with just, like a lump of money, you can put that in there and it'll show, what that looks like, how close to that goal you're getting. One of the most important things I think I can say right now, at least for my sanity, is sometimes people feel that the estimated monthly income number, so that $1,876 on this estimate, they think that's a calculation of their pension, and it is not. I repeat, that upper left number is not a calculation of your current pension or future pension. They do an estimate of the pension, and then they add an annuitization of your defined contribution money. But the annuitization, we don't know where they, it's based on their products and their annuitization. So it's really, we have asked them. I have been a big proponent of them changing that because I've had a couple people yell at me saying, hey, you said my pension was going to be XYZ and it's not. So I do think they're going to fix that in January. But right now it is just know that it's not an estimate of your pension. When you log into your account, if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see it'll show you where your money's invested and how much you have in each of the different funds. So this is what that looks like. And then, there's the cool allocation graph. Under that is the manage my investments. That's where you click to actually change where your money's invested. Okay. And you can do different things with, moving that money. You can move all of it out of where it is into one fund. And, as long as everything adds up to 100%, you can do that. You can leave everything where it is today. And then any contribution coming in after today can go somewhere else. You can put it into a different fund. So a lot of different options there. This is what the different options you have. You can change, you can move funds on the whole, or you can reallocate balances. So if we go back, you'll see that the large cap is at 35.91%. There was probably a time this person said, I want 35% of that to be in the large cap, but just by the nature of how shares work and share prices work, these percentages get off. They get askew over time. So if you want to just rebalance that, you can do that by the reallocate balances, or to rebalance the account. And you can set it up to automatically rebalance on a particular set schedule too. If you ever want to talk through that with someone specifically for you and get more detailed information, make sure you can get into your account, but then you can set up an appointment and I can actually walk. That's one of the things I like to do with folks, because that's, potentially changing how that money's invested can potentially change the amount of money you have at retirement, and sometimes significantly. So be on top of that. And if you do nothing else, and if you hear nothing else from this presentation, go into your account, make sure you can get in, just so that you have beneficiaries listed and they're updated. So a couple scenarios that I can think of that we've dealt with. One I dealt with personally, and it was heartbreaking, was a grandmother, her adult daughter passed away, and she's raising now 3 grandchildren, and she needed money out of it. Actually wasn't this account, it was a life insurance, but nobody was named. So it goes into his estate, goes to probate, has to go through court. So it takes a lot of time, and she, needed the money. So that was a real lesson to me, like to remind folks, just go in and put who you want to get that money, so that we know who to give it to. And your loved ones don't have to kind of struggle through going through probate court. The other scenario is we have divvied out a lot of money to exes. And that's not fun, especially when there's a current spouse. So make sure you keep those types of things updated, if that might be your situation. Okay. This is how to contact us. Our website, imprs.in.gov. You can send questions to this email, questions@imprs.in.gov. You can call. I will give you a hint. If you call, if you just have an address update, or you have a question about how to get into your account, you can talk to kind of the first tier of people that you talk to. If you want anything kind of more in depth for you, you might ask for a retirement benefit specialist at INPRS, and that will get you to someone that works in our office. That's the second tier. And they can help with more kind of nuanced or technical things about our particular plans. And then our office, our lobby is open at 1 North Capitol. We are in the lower level. So we're right across from the State House. Excuse me. We do have all the socials. I would say one of the best ones we have is the YouTube channel. So the INPRS YouTube channel has some pretty well-made, succinct, I would say, videos. They're not, super cumbersome and long, but they answer a lot of questions, and they do it, fairly well. So you might check that out if you have a question and you don't want to kind of get a hold of one of us. Okay. All right. I said I would do a couple things. So we're on the website. So our website does actually look a little different these days. So they didn't update that slide yet, but if you go under the Ready to Retire, that's where you're going to see a link for the workshops and counseling. So if you just click on that, once it loads, you'll see up here that you can register. And here's all the different offerings that we have. So you can do some investment education, budgeting and saving education. We have a seminar that's, or a webinar that's very similar to the one I'm giving right now. That's this. And then if you're close to retirement, we have one specifically for folks. It's a lot more in the weeds about logistics, about your, when to sign up, and we look at different things in that webinar for folks who are right about to retire. If you want a retirement counseling session by phone, you click here and you find that really doesn't matter who you talk to. I think my name's on there. I work in the central region, but you can talk to any counselor if a date and time works better with one of them, because obviously we can call from anywhere. If you want to do in person, like I said, we're offering those 1 day a week now. We really only want folks who are about 6 months from retirement, who really just want help completing their retirement application. We're trying to keep those appointments available for those folks. Obviously, with everything going on and the risk that people might be taking to be in person with someone, we're not back to full in-person meetings like we used to before the pandemic. And in Marion County, all the libraries are requiring masks still, so keep that in mind. But that's where you go. I will send this link. I think I can just put it right here. So there's that as well. And then I was going to show someone where the forms were to purchase out-of-state service. So again, if you log into your account, you can see a quick estimate of what that would be like. But if you're in TRF, I think is what someone asked about. You go under My Fund under Teachers. And then there are forms right here. And then purchase, that's additional service. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog. It's about their feeding time. Where is the change beneficiary, submit, verify? Oh, verify out-of-state teaching service. So the verification is what needs to be submitted for you to get a quote. And then from there, they'll walk you through the purchase process. But this is what that looks like. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. It's over here. So go here, print that off, submit it, or get it completed. You have to submit it to the state where you got that service to have them authorize it. But yeah, you would complete that form, and then you can just send it via email to questions@imprs.gov, and they'll process it from there. It's probably the quickest way. You can also fax it if you're more comfortable with that. It does require part of your social. So if you'd rather fax, I think that's considered safer. You can fax it to the 866 number here. Okay. Here's the link for TRF forms. I'll send that as well. All right. I covered a lot. It's an overview. Are there further questions? And we can either do them via chat, or if you want to ask verbally, you can do that as well. Nope. Okay. Well, thanks a lot for your, thanks a lot for your time. And if you do have follow-up questions, you can always call that 844 number. You can get a hold of me. Please don't everybody at once. But if you need to get a hold of me, we can do that as well. So thanks a lot.